Welcome to the Melanin Jelly Project Conversations, a podcast that celebrates diversity and representation in children's storytelling, entertainment, and edutainment. I am the host, Olunosen Louisa Ivaze. On this podcast, I chat with authors and creators of children's books, entertainment, and edutainment. This is also a collaboration with the Ottawa Black Book Club. So welcome to Salvant. Welcome to the Melanin Jelly Project podcast. My name is Olunosen Louisa Ivaze. I'm the host of this podcast, and I'm also the founder of the Ottawa Black Book Club. So I write for adults and I write for kids. I started the Ottawa Black Book Club first because when I moved to Ottawa, I realized I wanted to create a safe space for multicultural book lovers.
Yes.
Just come together, read books by authors of Black and African descent. Then when I started writing books for children, I realized that there was a gap in podcasts that celebrates authors of, authors interested in telling diverse stories, neurodiverse stories, just diverse stories. So that's why I started this podcast. So welcome once again to this lovely podcast. Tell me about yourself and what inspired you to write this book. Thank you also for sending me a copy of this book and your journal.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
You're welcome. So my name's Salvant. I am a homeschooling mom of 6.
Oh, wow.
My children are 21, 20, 18, 15, 13, and 4. By the time that we had the 4-year-old, there were things that we were doing in the family already, such as the birthday tradition of everybody saying one thing that they loved and appreciated about each other, because it really is important, the words that we pour into our children.
Yes.
Right. So when number 4 was born, when she was an infant, I would go through and recite the alphabet of you to her. And so we called it the alphabet of Sinclair, right? And I would say adjectives that she possessed or that I wanted her to possess, right? So you're adventurous and you're brave and you're compassionate and you're driven. Usually calm was in there somewhere, kind, right? And I would tell friends what I did and they thought, oh my gosh, this is great. They started doing it with their babies, and a friend in passing was like, this would make a good book. And so I, kind of went through this whole list of adjectives. As you can tell from the book, it's also bigger words, not words that you would typically find in a, children's book. But my big thing with that is if you teach little people big words, they learn big words, right? So then I started, with the adjectives. I also wanted pictures of people because she liked looking at pictures of other people. So I put out an all call to friends and family and said, hey, I'm writing this book. Can you send me pictures of your children?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, lovely. Because that was the first thing that struck me, the words and then the pictures of the children. So I was going to ask you initially, but you already answered that question, where you got these pictures of kids, if they were just random pictures, like did you get permission before using pictures? Because when it comes to kids, I'm always very, very careful, like when I use, and you need that permission to use.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's
absolutely. So 90% of the book, it's friends and family. It's people that I know personally. I had a book designer, and she loved the project as well, and was like, oh, I know a few people. Can I recommend a few people to be added to the book? Because the thing is that we also needed specific pictures of children depicting these adjectives, right? Yeah. And so because I was using big words, it was also important to define the words.
Okay.
Right. So as a child is reading this book, that they are learning this new vocabulary. They are learning ways to describe themselves. So if you turn to one of my favorite pictures is this little kid who's standing on a toy, and it says intrepid. And when his mom saw the picture, she said, I never used that word to describe him before, but I will from now on.
Okay.
Right? Because exactly. So typically if a child's doing something that could be dangerous, we may pull in a negative word. We may just tell them to get down, as opposed to saying, I know that you are so intrepid and I love that about you, but can we only stand on things without wheels? So your likelihood of falling is less.
Yes, this is it. Yeah.
Yes.
Page. So this page has. So this is it. Yeah.
Yes.
So this page has inspirational, intrepid, independent. Wow. And I noticed you use sign language because I was, as I was reading it, I was doing my best to. I wasn't even sure if my fingers could do some of them.
Yes.
And then what does this mean?
So that is the book title, the alphabet. So if you say alphabet in sign language and ASL sign language, it's just ABC, and that is you. Yeah. So the alphabet of you.
So what is ASL sign language? What does it mean?
American Sign Language.
Ooh.
So yes, so with sign language, it can vary by the language that you speak. So in ASL, like for the alphabet, we use one hand, right? But there are some languages that actually use both hands for their alphabet. Yes. So it does worth noting that the distinction it is ASL, the ASL alphabet. And the reason why that is included is because I wanted to normalize teaching our littles the ASL alphabet right alongside the visual and verbal alphabet, right? So that if you do come in contact with someone who is hearing impaired on a very, very small level, you can at least communicate, right? You can spell out some words. And what I've found is that it typically intrigues kids and they want to learn more. So one of the recent comments I received from a parent was that, oh my gosh, my daughter loves the book and now she wants to learn sign language.
Yeah, because
how amazing is that?
Yes, because when I was reading it, I found myself doing...
Yes.
Because I was, at the point I thought my fingers couldn't do some of the signs. Yeah, because I wasn't sure. Because so this is
A.
This is A.
E. Yes.
Wow. Let's see. C. And this is the one that struck me. I think. Okay, so you see. So with the D, I had a challenge there. I wasn't sure if it was this or this.
So all three fingers are down, and yes.
Okay,
D.
all three fingers. Oh wow. So this is the first book, and you are the first person I have interviewed that has used sign language. I had interviewed someone who had mentioned ASL language, but in her book, it wasn't reflected. But this is the first book that I have seen that is reflected.
Thank you. Right.
Yeah. So how important do you think it is for children to read books that include sign language? Yeah.
So I think it's extremely important to create this inclusive world that we want to create. And I think that it's simpler than what we think, right? And one of the other reasons for including it in this book is that I remember with our first that we thought, we're going to teach him sign language because there's this big trend on at least, teaching a few signs to babies so that if they want more, they want milk, right? They can, if they want to eat, right? They can tell you these things before they have the words to say it. But we didn't do it with our first. And we didn't do it with our second. By the time that we had our third, we were actually a part of this parenting center, and they had somebody come in to teach baby sign language, or to teach sign language to babies. So we did and learned. My older kids learned, and we absolutely loved it. Now, my aunt, who what I think about just the beauty of human connection and interaction is you never know who you are going to reach based on one simple act. Well, my aunt worked with someone who was deaf. So my aunt knows sign language. So she would come home and she taught us all the alphabet. She taught us a few signs. So I grew up knowing the ASL alphabet. Right. And I actually saw this woman recently and told her thank you for connecting with my aunt, right? Because I actually have a cousin who's an interpreter now, all because of this one person's introduction. So, my thing is, one of the goals or things I tell my children to do, and I'll start that part over. So one way that I tell my children to approach life is like you're playing a video game and you are collecting all the little tokens, all the little stars, all the little, right? And you have no idea how you're going to use them later in life, but you have them. So you don't know where this ASL is going to benefit you later in life or help you some way later in life, but you have it.
Yeah, very true. In African cultures, there's this saying that no knowledge is a waste. Yeah, because now, thinking about it, when you're talking about teaching children how to communicate before they become verbal, I remember a friend's son, one time they came visiting and he was saying to her that he was hungry, and he came to her and he said, he did this.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was wondering, I said, what's going on? Why is he doing that? Is he okay? Does he want to play? And she said, he's hungry. I said, but how did you know? And she said that they teach them how to make signs in school, because some children start out non-verbal, some eventually, So he just came to her and he did.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know that when we were growing up, I know people used to say this was the I love you sign. I don't know if that's true. And then later someone said, no, it's a gang sign. And I'm wondering, what do you think by it's a gang sign? I was told it's an I love you sign. So yeah, we do, this, and I know that this is a peace sign, right? Yeah, this is a peace sign. Oh, that is amazing. That's amazing. So what does? Okay, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say what I remember. There's this one incident where I was at a party with my family, and I look over at my kids and did this. So it's just the W, which is 3.
Let me see. No, do it again.
So 3 fingers. And you do it like this.
Okay.
So straight to your chin, right? That means water. So my kids were across the room and I did like this, and one of them brought me water, and somebody was like, is this like telepathy? Like, why did your kid just bring you water? I said, oh, I wanted water. And they were like, how did they know? I said, oh, I asked them for water. And so
I thought I was gonna say maybe it's a Black mom thing. What were some of the challenges you encountered when you were putting this book together?
So definitely, because it was this all call to friends and family for pictures.
Okay.
Just like some of the like technical things where some pictures the resolution wasn't high enough, or it wasn't at the right angle, or it didn't depict the adjective that we needed. And so like going back to get the specific shots that we needed was definitely a challenge. Going through and defining the words. So while we use big words, the definitions, we used words that kids were more exposed to help them understand the larger words. So rewriting the definitions for the words definitely took some time. And then the layout, because I know that my kids, especially when they're little, they read the same books over and over and over again, right? And it's very easy to get bored with a book if you're the parent reading this book. So I wanted to make a book that was so visually appealing that it drew you to it and you wanted to read it, and you could focus on different aspects of the book each time you read it. So one time you might only go through and work on the ASL alphabet. One time you might go through and just look at the pictures of the children and ask them if they, had any pictures like this, or what did they think was happening in this picture, or how did they think the child felt in this picture. You can also just look at the background of the pictures, right? So there's, one with like a sun and the moon, and there's different colors and shapes. So you can really teach a lot of different concepts to children through this one book.
Okay. And what was your publishing process like? Did you self-publish or you got traditionally published?
So I self-published, and that was very intentional because I wanted to use the pictures that I wanted to use in the book. It was really important to me there are certain pictures in there where a friend or a friend's child has passed away. And so I wanted to make sure that I included them in that book as a way to honor and remember them. There are again, tons of pictures that are just meaningful for different reasons. So because I did not want an editor to come to me and say, oh my gosh, we love the concept, we love the idea, we just need to change out these 4 pictures.
I say traditional publishing is great, but one thing we need to remember is that as authors, right, our books are like our children that we want, a certain way, and publishing, we always must remember that it's a business.
Yes.
As much as, yes, they're interested in publishing your work, they want to publish what sells, which most of the time might mean taking out things that are portions of the book that are important to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So what are some of the challenges you think that Black authors or diverse authors have when it comes to getting published or even working together? What are some of the challenges?
So getting published, I mean, if you just solely look at the numbers of Black authors, while it is getting better, the numbers, there's still a huge gap, right, in the number of Black authors who are published in genres, in multiple genres. So there's that. I think another challenge is just the exposure.
Okay.
Right? I mean, so before I wrote my book, I ended up just doing a random poll and talking to other authors and asking, what worked, what didn't, biggest mistakes, what would you have done differently? And one author shared, he said, most people think that writing the book is the hardest part. He said, that's not. He said, it's hard, but it's not the hardest part. He said, it's actually, if you don't have a marketing plan for the entire year after you have your book, it won't sell, right? And so for me, being a mom, I likened it to having a baby, right? Like, you think actually having the baby is the hard part, and then you go home with that baby and you're like, whoa. Right?
Bye-bye sleep.
Bye-bye sleep. And it's like that with the book, right? Because if I am actively advertising, marketing my book, I am selling my book. If I am not selling my book. It's that simple. And so, but this is only a part of, for most people, what they do. They still, many have jobs and families and hobbies, and right. And so it's really difficult to get your book out there, to have your book. For me, my book is intentionally inclusive. There is a lot of, especially recently, this big push towards representation, which is amazing, and right, because, and the thing is that like everybody needs to see themselves in pictures, right? So definitely, Black and brown children and children who have like albinism and like children with a disability, like everybody needs to see themselves in pictures. I went with an inclusive book because I think that we all need to see good in each other.
Okay.
Right? That it's fantastic if you live in this homogenous neighborhood, whatever, right, your origin is, and you only see negative aspects of other ethnicities out there, then you will have negative connotations with other ethnicities. Whereas if we see each other, right, to realize that there's positive, there is good out there in everybody, in every culture, in every ethnicity. So that was one of the focuses of this book. Having said that, so that blocks me out of some books that are specifically like genres out there just on representation, or I found that there are some avenues, and again, and rightly so, where it's books that are like, this is a book full of all like beautiful Black children, which is great, but I'm not in that category because it is inclusive, right? Although I will tell you, if you turn to the W page, this is one of my favorite pictures in here.
Let's see. Okay, this one?
Yes. So the little boy for Worthy, right?
Okay.
That just for being born, for being born, you are worthy.
Oh.
You are worthy of it all. You are worthy of all of the love and, affection and gratitude and all of the greatness that this world has to offer, just for existing, right? Yeah. So it was important to me as well to send that message to our, little Black boys and girls out there that, yes, you are worthy.
Yeah, it's like when I think of mirror stories where children open books and see children that look like them, and these mirror stories for children of a different culture acts as window stories, because it's an opportunity for you to get a glimpse into another culture. And even it becomes a sliding door, because it gives you the opportunity to step into that world, to think, and I think it builds children because it gives you a newfound respect for that culture. Because people make a lot of assumptions. Like for me, I do my series is called Africa is Not a Country series, because I feel that my biggest gift to the world is to talk about what I know. So I have Crowning Glory, I have the African Safari. So in Crowning Glory, I'm talking about African hair traditions and how it is an inspiration for a lot of hairstyles we have around the world today.
Yes.
Those are the cornrows. This is the Orisha Oshun.
Yes.
Because all around the world, I realized that even as Black Americans, all the people who were taken away to the Americas, I realized that a lot of them do not know a lot about the motherland.
Yes.
So I decided, you know what, Louisa, do this book, put it together, because any adult reading this book to children is also an opportunity for that adult to learn about hair culture.
Absolutely.
Yes, I put in the map of Africa there. And then because a lot of people don't understand that Africa is a
continent.
Continent with 54 sovereign countries.
Yes.
And there's the African Safari, which talks about Africa's indigenous animals. A lot of people don't know that tigers and kangaroos are not indigenous to the continent. I suppose these are the creators, pouring life into the air, So yeah, so I think that it's really, really important. So one thing we'll do today in the course of our conversation is I'm going to try out the sign language. You're going to teach me. I want to say A to, you guys call it Z, right? We call it
yes.
Z.
Z, right, Z.
So yes, please, I want to try A to Z. So I want you to show me how to do that. I hope my fingers can do that. So let's go. Okay, let's start. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. A. B. C.
C.
Yes. D.
Hold on. D.
Yep. There we go.
Okay,
E.
E. Okay.
F.
Yes.
G.
H.
I,
I,
J,
J,
K,
hold on. K,
yes,
okay,
L,
L,
M. So 3 fingers
three
over your
fingers,
thumb.
okay, like this,
Yes, M,
M,
N. So it's just 2 over your thumb.
M,
N, yes. O,
O,
P,
P,
Q. So the Q is just your, yep, there you go. R,
R,
S,
S,
T,
T,
U,
U,
V,
V,
W,
W,
X.
let's see, hold on, X,
Yes, kind of like a hook. X,
so X,
Y,
Y,
Z.
oh, Z.
Yes.
Oh, this is the first time in my life I have ever done that. I didn't know. You know, when I was reading it, I kept trying out some of, the signs, and I was wondering, I'm like, I've never done this with my fingers. Can my fingers actually do this? But now that you've studied, I like to learn new things. So it's something that has sparked my curiosity. So I think it's something that I'm going to try. So I would like you to read your book to us. Yeah. So let me see. So as you read, I think I can show our viewers each page. Yes. Okay. All right. So starting with the alphabet of you, right?
Yes. The Alphabet of You by Salvant. A. Adventurous is to explore new places and things. Artistic is to create beautiful things. Accomplished means to develop talents through practice and hard work. Bashful is to feel shy. Blissful means to be full of happiness. Brave is to be courageous and daring. Charismatic is to have a personality that is friendly and charming. Cheerful means to have a happy mood. Creative is to use your imagination to make something new. Determined is to make up your mind about doing something and then do it. Diligent is to work hard at a task. Driven means to have a strong desire to complete a goal. Effervescent is to be bubbly and friendly. I'll do that again. Effervescent is to be bubbly and lively. Endearing means to be sweet and lovable. Earnest is to be sincere and genuine. Fascinating is to be very interesting and capture the attention of others. Fastidious means to take great care to get something just right. Gifted is to have a special talent or ability. Gentle means to treat others with kindness. Hopeful is when you expect good things to happen. Harmonious means to be friendly and free from disagreement. Inspirational is when someone sees you do something good and it makes them want to do something good too. Intrepid means you are bold. Independent is to be able to do things all by yourself. Jubilant means behaving in a way that expresses happiness. Jovial means you are jolly and friendly. Kindred is to be alike and have a lot in common with someone else. Kempt is to be neat and tidy in your appearance and hygiene. Lively is to be full of life. Loving is to be constant in your support and friendship. Lighthearted means you are free from worries and filled with hope. Merry means to be joyful. Mesmerizing is to get and keep someone's attention so much that they are hardly aware of anything else. Noble means to make an effort to be a good person and do what is right. Nimble is to be quick and light with your movements. Organized is to plan tasks or keep items in a way that is ordered. Outgoing means to be friendly and confident. Optimistic means you are hopeful that things will turn out well. Patient is to wait calmly for something. Positive means to focus on good things. Questioning is to seek out answers. And quirky is to be unique. Ruminative is to think something over in a focused way. Respectful is when you treat others the way you would like to be treated. Reflective means to carefully consider something based on what you know. Skilled is to perform well as a result of practice or training. Studious is when you work hard in order to learn something. Temperate is to be calm. Triumphant is to succeed at reaching a goal you set. United is a group that comes together as one. Unforgettable is a person that is impossible to forget. Unwavering means you don't give up, even if something is difficult. Victorious means to win. Vibrant is to be full of life. Whimsical is to be fanciful and playful. Winsome means to be sweet and charming. Worthy is to have value.
Yeah, these were the words that got me. These two.
Xenodakiel is that Xenodakiel means you are friendly to strangers. And Xenagogue means you are a tour guide.
Okay.
Yippee is an expression of great delight. And yourself is who you uniquely are. And this allows children to join the book, and you can paste a picture of yourself in the book.
Okay, nice.
Zazzy is to be colorful, vibrant, vivid, and flashy. Zealous is to have great energy for a specific thing or topic. Zestful means you have a lot of energy. And that is the alphabet of you.
Oh, beautiful. Then in the this page here,
Yes.
was this page basically showing us the signs, the hand signs?
Exactly. So that page shows the signs. And so some of the floats, and so I am from New Orleans, Louisiana. So this is, definitely that Z page pays homage to Mardi Gras and our culture, right?
Yes, I recognize the beats.
The beads, exactly. And so the last page, that you have, that is like floats, like you would find in a parade. And so there are some floats that have children on them, others it's just the letter, but also with the ASL sign. Yes.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much. This is so beautiful. And then in the end, I am.
In the end, I am. So children can go through and identify adjectives that describe them. So again, a part of this is helping children to realize who they are before they let the world tell them who they are.
Yeah. So if someone was gonna write a book, let's say I decided I don't know ASL, I don't know sign language, and I decided that now I'm inspired by Ty's book and I want to write something similar. What are some tips you can give me to write a meaningful book that includes sign language effectively?
So there are actually, I need to research, I don't know the title of this, but I saw if the book isn't out yet, it's in production. I believe that I saw it in one of the authors' Facebook groups that I'm in, where there is an author who has written a book that includes sign language, and it's actually children signing certain words, which I think is fantastic. Okay. If you want to do that, there are 3 things that I would recommend. First, have your story, know what your story is going to be about. The biggest thing with children's books, especially if it's a younger child, the word count is really important, right? So there are not so many words on the page. Typically the words are bigger. So think about how you're going to incorporate whatever words you have, along with a picture, along with a child depicting the sign. Okay. So it definitely takes somebody with a good eye and good, spatial reasoning to be able to figure out how to fit that on the page without it feeling too busy. Right? So the next thing is that once you have your story and you know what you want that to be about, then to go to hire, the same way that if you wanted your book translated to a different language, you would go to a translator. So this, you would go to an interpreter or an artist who can draw the signs and pick out which signs you want depicted. So it's typically not every single word on the page, right? Because again, unless that is the entire book and there's not other pictures, right? But you can highlight. So like a great way to do it would be if you wanted to introduce, again, even other adjectives, that you would have your words, you could have the adjective that you have the sign of highlighted in a different color or a larger font, and then the child signing that adjective. That would be, another way to do it. But again, it's making sure that it's authentic and that you go to someone who is a translator, who is fluent. And then I would also end up like having it proofread by somebody who uses sign language, so that they're like, oh yes, okay, yes, no, this is definitely the sign for this, right? Just to make sure that somebody didn't, I don't know, like sign something slightly differently, the same way that language changes, right? Maybe somebody had a different sign. So just kind of verifying that, yes, this is the sign for whatever it is.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because my books are in English and French, because Ottawa is bilingual. It's a bilingual city. Yeah, but it's never occurred to me to include sign language, because as much as I'm an advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility and belonging in all senses, like I tell people that DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, is not a destination, it's a journey. So you keep learning every day. So I want to say a special thank you that now I have learned this today, that sign language is also an option, because in university I made friends with this hearing impaired. That were hearing impaired, and they were adults. So the young man, so he would always come and visit me. And I didn't understand when you say someone is hearing impaired until the day the alarm clock went off behind him. My alarm clock went off behind him and he didn't move. I was in shock, and I was just thinking, what a world of silence feels like. But he could feel music.
Yes.
He kept doing this, that's.
Yes.
And I said, oh, music downstairs. So we used to communicate through writing. So I would always write stuff and I would show it to him, then he would write back and respond. I've come to understand that people are uncomfortable with what they don't understand.
Yes.
And one of the ways forward is for us to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
To ask questions. It's okay to seek to learn, to understand, rather than just judge from a distance. So yeah. Yeah. So what would you like to see for your books? What would you like to see happen to your books?
So I would love to see actually some of the things that you shared, right? That I learned something. That is why we write books, right? We want others to learn. to have children using big words and understanding big words, that, xenodokial, being friendly to strangers. There are children who they are like that. Actually, you know what? So what's so funny is that we have the saying, oh, this person has never met a stranger,
Okay.
right? They're xenodokial. We could use that word, right?
Xenodokial. No,
We
I'm
don't
the
say.
child who liked words. I liked words. So
Yes.
every other child liked words when I was growing up. So, okay.
Yes. For children, again, for children to be able to see some of just the natural gifts that they possess. I had a little girl who was about 13 who read the book, and I do this activity where I have picture frames and the kids can write the adjectives that describe them on the edge of the picture frame and get home and stick a picture in it. And so she had space for one more word, and she had flipped through the book and she was like, okay, zazzy. I don't know what that means, but it fits. I'm going to write it. So she writes zazzy and she reads the definition and she was like, I'm zazzy. I'm going to use that word every day. And it was beautiful to see her light up, right? And identify, like, you know what? I am flashy and vivid and lively, right? And so, I mean, even recounting the story gives me chills when we think about how many kids, and this happens in childhood, where we're not affirmed, that we don't, right? It's always like, don't do this, don't do that, don't stand on a car, don't climb on this, don't do that. And so it starts to just like dampen our little lights.
A lot of don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. Yeah, a lot of
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, as opposed to like filling us up and helping us to see, right, like I am worthy. Oh, and I am winsome and I am quirky, and that's okay, right? And so then by the time that they are in elementary school or middle school and people are lost and confused and doing things to hurt other people, that they can go back to, no, you know what? I know who I am. I know who I am. So I'm not going to let what you say take away from who I know that I already am.
Okay.
So I think that it just breeds a more confident child, right? Somebody who's really secure in who they are. That, again, when you mentioned with your book, the parent reading this story to their child also learns that Africa is not a country, that the parent reading this book to their child also says, you know what? Like, there are some amazing little people who don't look like people in my family, right? Maybe they're not all bad, right? That they get to learn that too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So if people want to buy your books, where can they find your books to buy?
So currently you can find the books on my website, timewithty.com.
Okay, timewithty.com. Okay.
Yes. And the Alphabet of You also has its own website. So it's just the alphabetofyou.com.
Okay. Are you on Instagram?
I am on Instagram and I'm on Facebook, Time with Ty Nola, Nola.
Okay.
Yes.
So are you working on anything new?
I am working on a couple of different projects. So one is, this book was really geared towards younger kids. I have another book, same concept, that's for older kids. Because again, we all need this information, right? So it'll have a slightly different feel to it, but where we're still pouring in increasing vocabulary, and being inclusive. I am also I am wrapping up a guided journal for dads called A Celebration of Fathers, which is in that same series as the guided journal for moms that I have, A Mother's Reflection. And I am working on a journal for couples, which the premise for the journals is it walks you through the mother you had, if you're being the mother you want to be, and if not, why not, with a big emphasis on self-care. So the journal for dads walks you through, right, like the dad you had, the dad you are, if you're being the dad you want to be, and if not, why not, with some emphasis on reflection. And the one for couples will do the same. Like, what did you see? What were your expectations of being a couple? How are you as a couple now? And are you the couple you want to be, with lots of tips and tools and information to help you to have the type of relationship that you want to have?
Okay, that's lovely then. Because I said I was going to also touch on this one. It's my journal series, A Mother's Reflection. I designed a couple of journals last 2 years, and I put them on Amazon, but not as detailed as this. Yes. Yeah, not as detailed as this. So I said, yes, we're just going to talk about it briefly, just to know what it's about.
Yes.
Because you have how this journal came to be, and myths about motherhood, how to use this journal, and all of that. Yeah. So just talk to us about this journal.
Sure. So a couple of things about the journal that I like to start with is that, one, I am on a mission to redefine motherhood to include self-care and self-compassion. Because when we don't, we raise boys with unrealistic expectations of their future partners, or we raise daughters who don't want to have children because they saw what their moms went through and they don't want to repeat it. Right. And so, mom is... Clearly, we know mom is an invaluable member of the family, but how do we value mom in the family? Right. And so there's so much guilt out there that women experience that, unfortunately, women cause other women with. If a mom is out without her baby, it's like, well, where's your child? Like with their other parent, with their dad. Right. But yet women are made to feel guilty for not being there every single second, which is why there's that page on like myths of being a good mom. Yeah. Right. And so it's not, if you use a babysitter, it doesn't mean that you're a bad mom. If you're not there 24/7, it doesn't mean that you're a bad mom. Right. And so as women, like, we need, I think, these affirmations and reminders. There are questions in here where we polled other women and said, if you could do it all over again, what would you do differently? And so I asked my own mom this question, and she says, I would not have been as strict. And I said, wait, can you say that again? And she says, I would not have been as strict. And what that did for me, I tell you, that was really healing, because as people, we assume that what our parents did, they stand behind, right? Yeah. Whereas it didn't, I wasn't allowing my mom to grow and change and be, like, when you know better, you do better. Right. And so she was like, oh, okay, maybe I didn't have to go that route. So it was great to hear that, and to not just assume that, like I said, everything that she did, she thought was right, or that she still stands behind, or that she would do that again. So this book really walks you through. It starts off with the mother you had and how much you know about her. Like, do you know her hopes and dreams? Did she accomplish her goals in life? What's her favorite kind of fill in the blanks? And a lot of women don't actually see their mom as a woman until they become a mother. Right?
So what it is? I remember I was talking to someone I had interviewed. And when we're chatting after the interview, she was saying, well, growing up, I didn't have the best relationship with my mom. My mom did a lot of mean things to me. And I said to her that one thing as an adult I've come to realize is that there is no manual on the perfect parenting. Parenting is trial and error. For me, I'm the oldest. So as the oldest, your parents will experiment a lot on you. Oh, this kind of education system might be good. Let's send her there. And if it's not good, they don't send the younger ones there.
Right?
So thank you so much for this journal. Yes. But thank you so much for this conversation today. And thank you so much, for this book. If I decide to put together my own book, I'm going to use my nieces and nephews
Yeah.
sent it to you to take a look at as an expert, because I'm no
Yes.
expert, I'm still learning. But yes, so thank you
Absolutely.
so much. Thank you so much, Ty. Thank you
You're more than welcome. And so one of the things that, just to wrap up, I wanted to share, the thing is that with moms, the more whole
Yeah.
and healthy we are, the better mothers we are.
Yeah.
So you can think about like pouring into your children differently when you have taken care of yourself, as opposed to when you are, when you've given everything and you have nothing left. You can't focus on your children in the same way. You don't see the beauty and the gifts and the talents that they have the same way, because you are so drained. So I think that's the beauty of the journals, is to help women to get to a place to where they can be better mothers, wives, friends, daughters, you name it.
Yeah, because you can't give what you don't have. And I know that a lot of women struggle with mom guilt. So thank you so much. Do have a great day.
You're welcome. You too.
Thank you. So let's have a nice day.
You're welcome. All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.